What's up, guys? This is Climhazzard-Zero here, and this is something a little different from the norm. I was doing some Blasphemous, and I do have some videos coming up, but I figured I'd try something I kind of had my eye on for a little bit. This is Dauntless. As many of you know, this is a free-to-play Monster Hunter-like game. For those of you who are in the Monster Hunter community, this is essentially Monster Hunter Lite. Not quite as in-depth or technical as Monster Hunter, but it gets the job done if you're on a budget. I've been playing this for a little while. As you can tell, I'm level 14 Slayer up there. Now, despite being very similar to Monster Hunter, it's got its own little differences. As you can see here, you've got a mastery system that actually affects things in the game. As you do quests, you have Slayer Mastery, which gives you different bonuses that are kind of general for your character, such as consumable slots. You can get higher upgrade levels. You get character titles. You get the cores, which are kind of like loot boxes, but kind of not. Whenever you use cores, they give you random upgrades, which I'll show in a bit. And then you have your own little weapon masteries for different weapon classes, and I'm actually going to show each of those off in the videos that I make for this game. I'm not going to do a full playthrough, just kind of a show off of what this game's all about, in case some of you out there that are familiar with me might be interested in the game. You know, you might try it out. You know, there's really nothing to miss or nothing to lose since it's free. You got mastery rewards for fighting different behemoths, as the game calls its monsters. And then, of course, here's all the rewards for your different weapon classes. As you can probably tell, I've been spending most of my time with the repeaters, which are the dual pistols. They work a little bit differently from the weapons as far as upgrades and stuff goes, but I'll show that off in a minute. Here you got your equipment, standard fare. You got your weapon. You can transmog your weapons if you have transmog points or anything that you might have gotten from bonuses. You've got your, these are called cells. They're essentially the decoration slots for the Monster Hunter veterans out there. But for those that are not familiar with that term, they're essentially things you can get from the cores that you get from random rewards or quests. They're kind of like bonuses that you can attach to weapons and armor that give you certain effects. Kind of like Monster Hunter World, each one is actually a skill point or a skill level that actually unlocks the skill, and it just gets higher level the more of them you have. And you can actually see over on the right there, the perk summary shows a list of all the skills that you have and their levels. And each piece of armor has certain different types of cells that you can equip. Like some of them will have defensive cells. These you hear are your power cells, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of how you mix and match. You can't put like any decoration in any armor or weapon like you could in Monster Hunter. So you kind of have to plan that one out. And of course, each piece of armor and each weapon also has its own little innate skills, which if you go to the forge, you can actually look those up. It'll give you pretty much what the skill is called if you're just looking at your equipment thing, but to actually see what it does, you have to go to the forge, which is kind of a weird design thing. Like over there, if you see on perks, this one's got one called +1 Rage Hunter. It means it's level 1 Rage Hunter, which gives you more damage versus Race Behemoths, and then each one's got its own set of perks. This one's actually got 2. This one's got a unique effect, and it's got a built-in one +2 conditioning, which gives you more stamina regeneration. Whenever you make a weapon, which it works like Monster Hunter where you have to use parts from monsters that you fight in order to make it, but you can also, when you make the thing, you can also upgrade it using money and certain orbs and smaller materials, as you see down there in the bottom. And then with the transmog thing in this game, it's very, very heavily reliant on microtransactions for the most part, where you can buy like special unique armor and weapon transmogs, or you can transmog into any weapon or armor that you've crafted. But to do that, in order to get it to stick, make it actually show here, down there in the very bottom you see that little green orb thing, the ×2. Those are transmog orbs. You get those from the hunt pass, which is something that you get just by doing bounties. Now, doing general bounties, you'll get experience, and you can get anything in the free slot just by leveling up your hunter pass, which is built in the game. You get it at the start. However, there's also something called the Elite Hunter Pass, which you have to pay platinum to get, which is, you know, the currency you get for real money. And this gives you some extra goodies. But regardless, you don't have to pay anything. You could still get everything in the free slot, and that does include, I believe, like here it is, transmog stones. This is what you use to transmog your armor into whatever you want, or that you've crafted. And you can get those, I believe, in the free thing too at some point. Now, one thing they did note is that if you complete the Hunter Pass all the way to level 50, if you have the Elite thing, then all the platinum that you put into getting the Elite thing is refunded to you, which is pretty nice. And you can also spend platinum to skip levels if you're like, you know, want to get something in a hurry. But anyways, the main core of this video that I'm going to do is kind of showing off a couple of weapon types, and then I'll probably do another one showing off more. And then also kind of show off how the combat works in this game and whatnot. So for starters, we're going to go with... Oh, there we go. Fuck it. We'll start with the basic, the sword, which, in my opinion, is probably the most boring of the weapon classes in the game. That doesn't make it bad. It's just, I don't know, too simple for my tastes. It gets the job done, though. Anyways, you can either go to the notice board or go straight to the map if you want to pick a quest to do. And here, I don't exactly have trials unlocked, but I got some of the other ones. So we're going to do Pursuit, which is your basic quests. And you can pick your monsters based on their types. So we're going to do just a simple neutral one. And for the sake of the video, I'm going to do the Lesser Nashor, which is, I believe, the easiest one you can do. And I'm going to do Private Hunt, which means it's going to be by myself. Normally when you pick a quest, it'll automatically matchmake you, so you gotta wait for other people to join in. It takes about 30 or so seconds for a quest to start, but you'll jump in right after that. Luckily, as far as I noticed, you don't have time limits on these quests, so you can run around and gather materials. And you don't really need a whole lot. They're mainly just for crafting tonics and certain upgrades for like your gun. If you look over there on the left, there's actually power level requirements, armor level requirements for hunting these monsters, which just affects the difficulty. And there we go. You kind of get a Destiny vibe from the whole power level requirement thing, but it's not that merciless if you're underpowered. Alright, let's go ahead and jump in and I'll kind of show this off. Now, like Monster Hunter, you pick a quest, you jump into a quest, you go and hunt down the one target that you're supposed to kill. I think later on you can fight multiples. I haven't got to that point yet. Also, you can buy unique hunter entrances whenever you start a quest, which everybody can see if you're in a group. Anyways, so what we got here, if you look up there, you got your standard fare, stamina, life bar. There is a weapon bar underneath the stamina thing that actually changes depending on the weapon class you have equipped, because every weapon has kind of its own little gimmick to it. And here you can pick up collectibles that you can use for crafting potions and whatnot. Now, over to the left of the health bar and all that, you have what's called your lantern abilities. Lanterns are an extra equipment thing that you can take with you. And the way that works is you can either instant activate it or you can hold activate it, and it has two different functions depending on the lantern equipped. The one I have now, I believe, is the defensive lantern, where instant activate gives me what's called a health shield, which is something that goes over your health that takes damage before your actual health takes damage. So think of it as kind of an overshield. The hold ability surrounds me with a kind of an earth elemental veil that damages monsters that are close to me. And the lantern powers will recharge over time or if you're hitting monsters. So it's something you can always use in battle. Alright, so I'm collecting some goodies here as we look for the monster I'm going to fight. And they randomly spawn just like in Monster Hunter, so you kind of have to look around to find them. And I see them over there. The thing you see around me now, that little shield thing, is actually, I have a armor piece that gives me an innate 10 HP health shield if I don't take damage for a while. And it refreshes if I lose it. So it's a good for defensive builds. Hey, Bobby. And you can actually set an option to turn on monster health, which you'll see up there on the top right. That heart will show the health level of the behemoth you're fighting. The thing below it, the little percent, is called the danger meter. I don't really know for sure what that does yet. The game hasn't like explained it. Alright, so the sword. Pretty much your basic quick attacking mid damage weapon. You've got your normal light attacks, you've got your heavy attacks. And if you look at the move list, you can actually get like, there are different combo attacks you can do if you press like a certain amount of light attacks and then heavy attacks. And if you notice, as I'm hitting the monster, that weapon bar is starting to fill up. Whenever that gets full, you can activate like an overdrive mode for the sword. And I'll show you what that does here in a second. Down there on the bottom right is all your consumables which you can equip. The top one is always mapped to your flask, which is your healing. To my knowledge, there's no way to refill that during a quest once you've exhausted all of it. So you kind of have to be really careful with how you use it, especially during tougher hunts. And hunts do kind of get tougher as you go on. Originally, when I first played this, it was like, it seemed really dumb easy compared to what I was used to in Monster Hunter. The behemoths weren't really super aggressive as like this one. He just has like, all in all, like 2 different attacks and he telegraphs them easily. So if you're a veteran of Monster Hunter, it's really nothing. Like, it's equivalent to fighting the drone level enemies in Monster Hunter. The only thing that kind of throws you off is how the weapons work. You kind of have to get used to like the timing. But then I was also thinking Monster Hunter, so it's not out of the norm completely. Anyways, I got the bar filled, so if I hit R1 to activate overdrive. So now my attacks do more damage and I'll fire little elemental waves. And also, as an added bonus, if I hit R1 again, I do a special dash, which is on a cooldown. But it's only active while you have overdrive, so once overdrive wears off, you can't do it anymore. And as you saw there, I just cut off his tail, which is also a thing they carried over from Monster Hunter. You can break parts, damage their limbs, you can cut off their tails, and you have to do that in order to get like certain parts. Like, you can't get their tail part unless you cut off their tail. There is no carving in this game. You pretty much just get things as you break parts or as you complete quests. Alright, let's go ahead and demonstrate the lantern power. If I tap L1, I activate my instant power, which is the overshield. This lasts for about, I believe, 6 seconds, but during that 6 seconds, I have that bit of protection, so I don't have to use up health. And actually, I just remembered, I have a thing equipped where if I break apart, I get health back. So that's always a good thing to have, so you can conserve your flax, because like I said, you can't restore them during the quest. Once you use them all up, you're done. Your only source of healing would be either getting certain armor perks, like that one I had that gives me health when I break apart, or this over here. You'll find these usually in the areas that the monsters are at. These are little ether geysers. If you're near them and you use them, you'll restore health and they'll give you some of your lantern energy back. And I forgot that fucking stomp out there has a lot of AoE. I also have the thing with most of the monsters, anytime they didn't have a move like that, it has a lot of range on it. Alright, let's go ahead and demonstrate the hold power. You hold down L1, use the hold power. This one makes it to where I have that little rock shield around me, and it damages them over time if they're near me. And you can also put mods on your lanterns too if you have them. The one I have makes it to where whenever I'm in a group and I use my hold power, it increases attack speed for everybody in my group. So you can kind of blend in support roles with your standard offensive roles. Something that was kind of tough to do in Monster Hunter, but in this game they make it pretty simple. Alright, go and activate that and that. Now, what was that quick combo? There we go. Now, a lot of attacks, like mainly your heavy attacks and some combo attacks, will use up stamina as you do them. So you also have to kind of watch your stamina usage in this game, because pretty much almost everything you do that's noteworthy uses it. Whereas in Monster Hunter, it's usually for like dodging or clutching on a monster, stuff like that. Very few weapons attacks in that game required it. It's usually like charging attacks for the hammer, demon mode for your duel, stuff like that. And if you look up there at the monster health, I already got him down to like his last quarter. Our monsters in this game do go in their rage mode, which makes them a lot tougher. Fortunately, you don't have to worry too much about that with like these early monsters. And as you saw there, I got a mastery level for something. I didn't see what. Whenever you get mastery levels, you instantly get the reward. So for that one, I got a silver core for something, so I can go turn that in and get a cell mod for one of my equipment items. And there you go, he's dead. Whenever you kill a monster, you automatically get whatever you would carve from them, like in Monster Hunter. And that's pretty much it. Lesser Gnasher slain. There is a greater Gnasher who's just minutely or marginally harder than this one. And of course, after you beat the quest, you get a rating, your personal rating, and then the rating for your team as a whole, which affects how many loot items you get at the end of the quest. And of course, you get bonuses, like if you don't ever get down, you'll get a bonus item. If you have the Elite Hunt Pass, you'll get another item. You got your break part stuff there, and then everything on the top left is just stuff that you get as a normal reward from the quest, which is affected by your rank. Let's go ahead and leave the hut. Alright, so that was the sword. It's a simple weapon. You have that overdrive as its gimmick. Not too much involved with it. So I'll go back, I'll turn in that core, and then we'll try the next weapon in the line, which I believe is the axe. My axe. Alright. If you go over to, there's several of these in the town. You can go to these to turn in your cores. Oh, I got a bronze. Never mind, I wasn't a silver. Boo. Alright. Level 1 Adrenaline Cell, level 1 Acidic Cell. Adrenaline increases damage dealt based on stamina spent, which ain't bad for certain weapons. Acidic Cell increases wound damage at the cost of part damage. So you have different damage types in this game. I don't have 100% understanding of them, but wound damage makes, if you wound parts with wound damage, you can do more damage to those parts. Part damage is obviously for breaking parts, and then there's also stagger damage, which helps you knock monsters over or interrupt them. And interrupting is a whole thing on its own, where you can actually stop them mid-frame during any of their attacks if you interrupt them, which is usually done by doing enough stagger damage to them. And if you do enough, you can also knock them over, much like you could in Monster Hunter. The only difference being you don't necessarily have to hit them in the head to do it. You can hit them in pretty much any body part to accumulate stagger damage. Or KO damage, whatever you want to call it. What was I doing again? Oh yeah. Switching weapons. Because, you know, fuck the sword. Yep, the axe is the next one. And what was my best one on this list? I'm going to go with this one. And of course you can transmog. This one I got from the Hunter's Pass. This one came with a, they actually gave out a gift, if I remember right, that gave you a free transmog item. I think this was it. These down here are axes that I've crafted. If anything you've crafted will show up under other, and then you can make your equipment look like whatever you want by spending a transmog stone or whatever you call it. But I'm going to stick with the design I got now because it actually looks kind of cool. Power cell. I'm actually not going to worry too much about power cells because this is just a demonstration and I'm only going after easy monsters just to kind of show them off. Alright, so let's go ahead and hunt something a little bit different. Ooh, they added a lot of them. I didn't actually look at the list after I finished the last major thing I did. We're going to go kill a quill shot. And we're going to do private. I think the next one I'll do, I'll probably go after something with a group just to kind of show off how that works. And like Monster Hunter, they do scale the monster's difficulty based on the number of players that are in the group. What I don't like, and I've actually read on this, is that if a player leaves the group, it doesn't scale back down, it stays scaled up. So if you leave a group, you're kind of screwing them over. And this has actually happened a couple times in my hunts. And it'll actually show in the weapon power and the armor power recommendations down there. It'll actually increase when there's more players in a group. And then of course, when you break parts of certain monsters, it can actually stop them from doing certain attacks, which is pretty nice. So if you want to be a really good support, you want to go for weapons that have a lot of part damage, mods with a lot of part damage, so you can kind of stop monsters from doing like really annoying things during fights. There's actually one that like legitimately gave me trouble in this game. I don't know if I'll do a video on it because yeah, there's some pride I need to save from all this. And yeah, that is actually a different hunter entry from the default that you get, where you just kind of land. Alright. Oh, these. I didn't explain these. When you pick these up, they give you a speed boost, and they also give you some lantern energy. And they're dotted all over the place, so you want to get a quick fix for your lantern, just run around and pick them up. And yes, there's jumping. You can jump, you can mantle onto things. You'll find some little geyser looking things that'll actually launch you up in the air like jump pads. So a lot of little things you can do to traverse the place. Sadly no grappling, but who knows. Yeah, here we go, one of these. Alley-oop! Alright, where is the beast? There he is. Hey buddy. I'm gonna hit you now. Okay, so the axe in this game, for long and short of it, is essentially this game's greatsword. Big, heavy, sharp thing that cuts things easily. Like the greatsword, you can charge your attacks. Unlike the greatsword, you can charge both types of attacks. You got your standard short attacks, which actually the charge attack for the short attack does more damage. The heavy attack doesn't do as much, but you can actually move around while you're charging it. Let's go ahead and pop this up. Whoa, that was weird. It kind of clipped through me. Yeah, they still have some kinks I need to work out with this game, but they've come a long way from the initial release that I had played before. And like the sword, the axe does have like combo moves. I just haven't bothered to learn them. Go ahead and heal myself. I'm also packing some burst grenades, which is a consumable you can make and equip. And it's actually one of the things that you get when you start your path down the gunner, which something that kind of annoyed me is that you couldn't get the gunner or the striker weapons until a few quests in. And there goes his tail. And I got an axe bonus, which gave me a bronze core. Excellent. Oh yeah, the axe's gimmick is that you can actually, if you hit R1, you'll throw it. It'll stay in one place for a while and then come back like a boomerang. Now, that's on a cooldown, and using that is the trick to getting your overdrive meter filled for the axe. And I'll show you guys what that does here in a second. Go ahead and pop this, just to be on the safe side. Now the trick with the axe boomerang is you kind of want to position it where it stops on the monster so it does the most damage. Now when you throw it, let me try that again. When you throw it, if you recall it early, you'll do a special slam attack. And when it gets hits while you throw it, it'll fill up your overdrive bar. If the bar is full when you throw it, and then you recall it, your special overhead slam attack actually becomes more powerful. And I'll demonstrate that in a second. Looks like the so the little thing means I'm doing enough stagger damage where I can knock him down. The little stars above his head. I wasn't aware that the axe did stagger damage. There we go. So we throw it, and then we recall it and do our slam attack. And I broke his horns. Have some of this. Alright, almost got my overdrive full, and then I can show you the special attack. Ooh, my Slayer mastery leveled up, which means I got a silver core. You can stop being a douche. And of course you can recall that for the overhead slam anytime before it gets back to you. So if you're really good with the timing, you can always plan to get a monster when it's most vulnerable. Oh, shit. I forgot. When the overdrive meter gets full for the axe, I think after a while, if you don't use it, you lose the overdrive. That meter below it, I don't actually remember what that does. Also, if you notice, this is an easy monster, but I'm still kind of getting my ass kicked by it. When you're trying to explain the game's mechanics, it's kind of hard to pay attention to what you're doing exactly. So let's be a little more serious on this one. Like the greatsword, you typically want to kind of go for hit and run attacks with the axe, and then only do your charge attack when you know you're going to get that hit. Luckily, you can also cancel out of it and dive out of the way if you need to. A little harder to do that in Monster Hunter, but you know, that's Monster Hunter. It's typically a lot more developed in this game as far as the difficulty and the mechanics. But you can't really blame them for trying with this one. This is kind of their first gig at this type of game. Whereas Monster Hunter has had like, what is it, 15 years now to develop their formula? Anyways, that was the axe. I think I got enough time for one more weapon. And I know I'm not making this super exciting compared to, I don't know, my Blasphemous videos, but it's late at night. I'm just home from work. Kind of wanted to get something out to fill in the gap before I get some more Blasphemous out. Alright, next weapon. Ooh, the next weapon is one of my favorites. Probably my favorite melee weapon in this game. The hammer. Or, you know, more fittingly, the gun hammer. Let's go ahead and show that off, shall we? Actually, for this one, I'm going to go on a group hunt, just to kind of show that as well as... Do I want to do the Shrike with the hammer? Is that a... I don't know. We'll see. So in addition to waiting for the quest to load, you also have to wait for the game to find Slayers to join with you. And as you're waiting, it also gives you little hints over there, like this tells you damage to Shrike with a heavy attack while it's gliding and knock her out of the air. Oh, that's right. This was the stupid fucking Tornado Owl one. And then, of course, it'll also tell you down there, the element guide, it'll tell you, like, what types are better suited for that monster versus, like, any other types. Like, it'll tell you, like, say you're fighting a Blaze one, it'll tell you, you know, Frost is better, Blaze is worse, Terra is worse, so on and so forth, for, like, your defensive and offensive options. And you can still prepare your equipment while you're waiting for other people to get ready, so it's a good little thing to kind of keep in mind. Whereas in Monster Hunter, you actually had to go check the little, there's always a little book you can go to that'll tell you, like, all the monster weaknesses and what elements are weak to, what drops they give based on what you break, what weapons work best on what parts, so on and so forth. This game pretty much simplifies it. Alright, we got one person here. Probably going to get another one or so. Let's go ahead and ready up. Now normally this would have been like 100 for armor power, weapon power recommendation, but we have one other person here, so they doubled it. And I think it increases by a certain percentage for any players after 2. Oh no, I guess not. Or no, they may have already loaded it in and it just took a while for them to show up. Or maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about. That's always a thing too. What info, it also shows your loot. Tells you items that you get just for killing it, and then what items you have to get from breaking certain parts, which is something you want to keep in mind for pretty much this game, Monster Hunter, any kind of hunting game. Can we call it a hunting game? It's not like traditional hunting. And yeah, the outfit I'm wearing now is a transmog set that I got from the Hunter's Pass, getting the transmog stones. It's pretty much just basic armor that you can make. I just like the design, so I decided to transmog everything into it. It's a mixed set between the Borealis and the Ember main whatever monsters. And also, anytime you load in, it always has trouble. Like it always does that little frame freeze thing at the beginning. It's minor, but it does kind of get irksome after a while. But overall, the game runs pretty fine. I don't know if it shows on the video playback, but it's going at a solid 60 frames per second. I also have the Switch version, which, you know, this game is cross-platform, so any progress you do on one console, it'll carry over to the next, and so on and so forth. And I believe it also has cross-platform play, so if somebody's playing like on the Switch, they can play with PS4 players. Alright, so right now we're just kind of dispersing, looking for the monster. The music's playing, which means somebody's found it. Oh, there we go. Also, one thing you can do is if you press R2, you have your social thingies, like your gestures, and then you have the flare. Typically, when you find the monster, you'll want to send up a flare so that everybody else knows where you're at, and that you found it. It's kind of like the signal from Monster Hunter, except it's actually more highly used in this game, I've noticed, than Monster Hunter. Alright, the hammer. This weapon is fucking cool. So, standard fare, you just smack things with big, loud plop when you hit them with the hammer. But in addition to the just standard hitting with it, you also have your little bullet files, which you see up there on my weapon bar. There is no overdrive mode for the hammer, as far as I know. You have your ammunition for the hammer, which actually has a bunch of different uses. For instance, you could just do your standard. If you hold down your heavy button, you'll charge it, you'll load the ammo into your hammer and just fire it like a shotgun. R1 is your reload, which it has kind of the active reload from gears in it. In addition to firing your ammo like a shotgun, if you press the ammo button right after you do a standard attack, which if I remember right, it's just hitting R1 after you attack. Or maybe right before. Yeah, right before. So if you hit triangle right as you're swinging your weapon, you'll use a bullet to enhance the attack and make it do more damage. If you hit the reload button after an attack, you'll automatically load a bullet into your thing. Ow. So you can essentially always keep ammo on it if you're proactive on hitting the reload after an attack. Like that. And you don't necessarily have to hit the monster to make it work like that. Now, probably my favorite thing to do with the weapon is essentially it's something called the Super Slam, or that's what I call it. I don't care what you call it, you're not the one playing the game. But if you do a certain combo with the hammer, you can actually discharge your entire clip into one swing. And the cool part is that if you hit the monster with that attack, it'll automatically fully refill your magazine. Go ahead and do this because I haven't been doing that in a while. So while I'm at it, do this so I can give everybody a attack speed boost. And you're being kind of a dick right now. Oh, another cool thing is you could actually run around while doing this. And if you double tap triangle or your shoot button while you're running, you'll actually fire a bullet to launch yourself in the air. Which is good as an evasive thing, or if you want to kind of get up to do a slam attack. There we go. If you do a full 3-hit combo and then you hit the shoot button, you'll do your Super Slam. And as you see there, after hitting the monster with a Super Slam, if it connects, you'll get all the ammo back. And you'll be kind of like an amped form for the switch axe from Monster Hunter. You'll get that with your hammer too. You'll do more damage. Now, if the attack doesn't hit, of course, you don't get your ammo back. Just the general functionality of this weapon makes it really fucking fun to use. Also, if you hit like a direction in your shoot button, you'll use the bullet to kind of launch yourself in that direction. So you can also use bullets for evasion. And I just fucked up the reload, which makes it go slower. Come on and slam, yeah. Ow. Go ahead and top up, just be safe. Now this defensive lantern is actually really good if you want to like tank a hit when you know you're going to take one. It's also good like if you have like only one bullet and you can get that super slam off, you'll get all those bullets back. As you can see, the Shrike himself, quite a bit different from the other monsters we fought. A lot more aerial, a lot more, moves around a lot more. Oh, I thought he was dead for a moment there. It sounded like the music stopped. He's about to be dead though, if you check the life bar up there. Whoop her up! Hammer is so fucking fun. What? Wait, how did that not connect? That was right on his face. And that's typical. After a while, some of the monsters actually run away from you, so you kind of have to watch where they go. Luckily, these little areas are essentially like self-contained islands, so they don't go too far, so it's not too hard to find them most of the time. Unless you're by yourself, in which case, a lot more area to search. And you can actually see if you let the monster alone for long enough, he'll actually heal himself a bit. And it'll show on the life bar. If you want to be aggressive, you can essentially play the whole thing just constantly doing that and then reloading. You can essentially power up your shot using a bullet and then immediately reload that bullet after your attack swings. So it's a nice little way if you just want to be like super aggressive with the hammer. Or if you want to be like me, just spam the fuck out of the super slam. If the fucker ever stays still. What is that? I'm guessing that guy's got the Embermare lantern, which lets you shoot that fireball thing. And that is one dead Shrike. And I totally fucking sucked it up this round, as you can see by my rank there. Luckily we did good as a team, and that's all that matters. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Alright, so now that I've explained most of the basic mechanics of the game, should be a little more proactive in the next video when I show off some of the other weapons. I just have to explain the mechanics for those, and then we can really just get into the fun of it. But first, I want to see what I got out of that core that I unlocked. Actually, wait, I got that in the last hunt. Why didn't I do it this time? Oh, whatever. Those cores don't go away, so you can open them up whenever you want. I'm gonna do it right now. And it's so weird unloading in whenever you come back to the thing. Oh, I got 2 bronzes. Alright. And it opens them all at once, I've noticed. Cunning Cell and Predator Cell. Grants chance to deal double damage, which is also nice. Increases damage after avoiding damage for a short time, which is also really nice. I'm trying to get a high level version of that one because that actually works really well with weapons like the dual blades, or as this game calls them, the chain blades, and you'll see why next video. Alright, what did I get in the silver? Ooh, I got 3 of them. Sharpen Cell, Pacifier Cell, Savagery Cell. Percent increased part damage, increases stagger damage against enraged, increases damage against wounded parts. Alright, so I got a little of everything on that roll. Anyways, that's it for this one. Next video, I'll show off the remaining weapon types, and then we'll probably go do a serious hunt against something really tough. Or at least as tough as this game allows. Because all things considered, it's still not quite as difficult, or at least not at this part, as difficult as some of Monster Hunter's earliest segments, let alone the later ones. But if you're just looking for kind of a more relaxed kind of hunting game, this might be right up your alley. And like I said, it's free to play, so not much to lose. Anyways, see you guys next video. It's been Climhazzard, signing out.